What's in a question? Maybe just about everything important. A smart and sharp question should strike up a more engaging conversation. So today, Diane joins us in the studio to explain how South Korea's national competitiveness has apparently declined in one recent global assessment. So, first, we welcome back Diane to the studio. Good morning.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. You come bearing sad news.
Yes.
Stripped of the crown.
Yes, I have a thumbs up for you guys.
You guys, Diane's a little broken this morning. Her thumb is in pain.
Right. My thumb got stuck in between the car door.
Everyone be careful.
Right.
I can't believe that happened to you.
I know.
But I've got to say the cast around your thumb, not to make light of the situation, is really cute. You're giving everybody a thumbs up these Tuesday mornings.
I can't really close my thumb, so it's like every time it's a thumbs up.
You know what? We're going to get to the segment so we can let Diane go and visit the hospital.
Yes.
All right. Our question of the day was what?
So, question, how competitive is South Korea?
Okay.
I mean, if you asked me this question a week ago before I came across this question, I would have definitely said very competitive. I mean, look at all the South Koreans excelling in every sector across the world. We have the world's second largest electronics company in the world. We have the world's best sports players like Park Se-ri, the golfer, Park In-bi, 손흥민, 추신수, 김연아, 박지성. I mean, all the list goes on when it comes to sports.
I feel like our references are a little bit dated. I agree wholeheartedly, but there are new, I don't know.
Bad, anyway, they're my heroes.
But our soft power is
Yes.
on point.
Right. I mean, in music and entertainment as well, look at BTS, Psy, and all the new classic instrument players sweeping all the international competitions.
Sure.
So as I come across this news showing how South Koreans are doing so well competing against the world, it makes me wonder, what is it about South Korea that they're doing so well in such a small country?
That's why this very global assessment release surprised us a little bit.
Right, a little bit. South Korea's global competitiveness ranking has fallen by 4 notches to 27th place in an annual ranking released by the Swiss-based International Institute for Management Development, or called IMD.
And apparently this is a fall compared to the previous year.
Right, so South Korea finished 4 notches lower than last year. The drop was the nation's first in 3 years, since being 28th in 2019 and 27th in 2018 among 63 nations.
Okay, so of course the big question is why? Why will we drop in these rankings? But let's talk a little bit more about the assessment, how it's done, what it is.
Right. So the IMD World Competitiveness Yearbook was first published in 1989. It's a comprehensive annual report and worldwide reference point on the competitiveness of countries. So it provides benchmarking and trends, as well as statistics and survey data based on extensive research. It analyzes and ranks countries according to how they manage their competencies to achieve long-term value creation. An economy's competitiveness cannot be reduced only to GDP and productivity, because enterprises also have to cope with political, social, and cultural dimensions. So governments, therefore, need to provide an environment characterized by efficient infrastructures, institutions, and policies that encourage sustainable value creation by the enterprises.
Just the way you described it, it just sounds really complicated.
I mean,
how
yes.
to calculate
Exactly.
a country's competitiveness, it just feels like there's many measuring sticks.
Right.
Which is why this think tank that runs the annual test has fine-tuned its criteria for proper assessment.
Right. So over the past 2 decades, the methodology used to assess the competitiveness of countries has been delicately revised to take into account the evolution of global environment and new researches. In this way, the yearbook keeps pace with structural changes in national environments and the rapidly changing technological revolution. They make these changes gradually so that they can preserve the comparability of results from year to year and highlight the evolution of an economy's performance relative to the competitiveness of others.
Okay.
So the World Competitiveness Ranking is based on 333 competitiveness criteria selected as a result of comprehensive research using economic literature, international, national, and regional sources, and feedback from the business community, government agencies, and academics.
Sounds thorough.
Right. So the criteria are revised and updated on a regular basis as a new theory, research, and data becomes available.
All right. That's a lot to handle.
I mean, I wouldn't want to be like
In
one of the
charge?
researchers in this team.
It just sounds massively complicated, but they're clearly trying to make an effort to be thorough.
Yes.
Let's take a look at which country came out as the country with the sharpest competitiveness edge.
So sustainability first, Denmark has topped the ranking.
Interesting.
So Denmark reached the number one spot for the first time in the ranking's 34-year history. The director of the IMD said Denmark has played extremely aggressively on the sustainability front and benefits from being a small country in the European market. And operating within that framework has allowed it to announce aggressive reductions.
So what was so significant for their competitive edge?
So Denmark's economic performance has risen sharply, and this is driven by increases in investment flows in the country, a contained rise in prices compared to other developed countries' economies, and the strengthening of public finances with a reduction in public debt and government deficit. The country's improvements in health-related indicators such as life expectancy at birth and the Universal Health Coverage Index were also significant to its performance.
Okay, so beyond Denmark, what were some of the other top listed countries?
So elsewhere in the rankings, Switzerland came in second, one notch down from being first last year. Singapore was third, and Sweden fell 2 places to fourth.
Can I be honest with you? It seems like that a lot of smaller countries are faring better.
That's very true.
Which is ironic because you would think bigger economy, more resources, more money to move around. Then where do countries like the U.S. and China fare?
So the U.S. retained its 10th place, and China fell from 16th to 17th. Croatia was this year's greatest improver, leaping 18 places in economic performance. The think tank said its strong economic rebound from the most acute phase of the COVID-19 pandemic played a key part, as did the recovery of its tourism sector.
Okay, now let's go back to South Korea because we provide a context. We get it. It's a really thorough process to measure a country's competitive edge. Now, South Korea's ranking went, 27th out of 63 countries. Could you tell us how the nation did in each sector for the massive assessments?
So, the main reason for the fall is because its fiscal deficit is increasing fast compared to its GDP and corporate productivity is dropping, with its labor market still rigid. In economic performance, South Korea's ranking fell from 5th to 12th in the domestic economy and from 5th to 6th in employment. Although it rose from 33rd to 30th in international investment, it stood at 30th in international trade and 49th in prices. In government efficiency, it fell from 34th to 36th. Specifically, it dropped from 26th to 32nd in physical assessment, from 6th to 9th in physical deficit to GDP ratio, and from 15th to 18th in government spending ratio. So every segment went down, actually. So besides, it fell from 43rd to 46th and from 36th to 38th when it comes to government policy adaptation, to economic changes, and transparency of government policies, respectively.
All falling short in these measuring yardsticks. Got it. Now, the business sector did not get a good score as well.
So the country slid from 27th to 33rd in business efficiency. Specifically, its business productivity and labor market rankings fell from 31st to 36th and from 37th to 42nd, respectively. In addition, the ranking plummeted from 35th to 50th in sharing of entrepreneurship.
We did just a 3-week special on entrepreneurship, but the odds, it seemed, what I gathered, was stacked against these new, young, usually minds that want to create something different and disrupt the market, as Juge said, because I think I was a little bit disheartened to find that some of the more successful unicorns in Korea had hefty financial backings from the beginning. They had all the networks. That's a little bit disheartening for someone who has to start from scratch, I think. But anyway, slipping in far as entrepreneurship rankings go, too. Now, of course, the reason why these assessments are important is not because it's a matter of who comes in first. It's a matter of what can we learn from it. So did the Ministry of Economy and Finance comment on the assessment?
So using this as a yardstick, the Ministry of Economy and Finance, they did comment on it. The ministry said, based on the direction of the new administration's economic policy, we will push for structural reform in the 5 major sectors of the government, labor, education, finance, and services. Meanwhile, they will intensively promote efforts to raise national competitiveness through ways like boosting the vitality of the private sector.
It's in line with the Yoon administration's pledges.
Yeah, so boosting entrepreneurship and the private sector is on the line with President Yoon's pledges. So we would have to wait and see for the next yearbook to come out, whether if we went up when it comes to the business sector score.
Do you think a year is enough? Maybe give him a few years.
Well, let's see. Let's see if we, year by year, if we go up or not.
All right, because it is also about creating an environment that is better at fostering entrepreneurs and so on forth.
Right.
Now, aside from listing the countries for their competitive edge, there was another interesting finding through the assessment.
Right. So one major finding across economies is that inflationary pressures are having a greater impact on businesses and therefore on the competitiveness of national economies than concerns about greenhouse emissions and socioeconomic disparities. And from an economic point of view, the pandemic seems to be over.
Yeah.
The big worry is right now inflation, at least in Europe and in South Korea and the U.S., I guess all over the world.
And possibly worse. Stagflation is something we've been throwing around. Now, it's tough, and when the going gets tough, we get tougher, right? So we'll see. We'll ride this one out, too. Thank you so much, Diane, for an insightful convo. We'll see you again tomorrow.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Post-hospital visit?
Thumbs up, every guy.
Thumbs up. See you tomorrow, Diane.
Bye.
We have Tuesdays for Tomorrow with 2 coming up next.